YouTuber Ryan Trahan decided to spend 100 days in the new Pokemon game, presumably for a wonderfully chill nostalgia trip, but he made one crucial error.
That I'm playing Nuzlocke mode.
I happen to have over 5,000 hours of experience nuzlocking the most difficult modded Pokemon games and doing the hardest challenges imaginable, including one that took me literally over 1,000 real-life hours to complete. So whenever a YouTuber decides to take on a Nuzlocke challenge, I have to step in to take all the fun out of it by evaluating and critiquing every move they make. This is actually an amazing encounter. So yeah, this is going to be really, really dangerous. We can do a little bit of team analysis of what happened. Again, I don't want to be nitpicky because it gets a lot of views, but also so you can use this review as a resource to learn and get better at your Nuzlocke runs.
Pokemon was my childhood, and now I'm going to spend the next 100 days here. One Pokemon day is 36 minutes in real life,
all right.
So let's get started. My goal here in the next 100 days, become a champion. That means defeating all 8 gym leaders by destroying their Pokemon with no remorse, and eventually defeating the Elite Four. They might not look like much, but this has been the boss fight of Pokemon games for decades. And then for the most nostalgic part of Pokemon, selecting your starter. I chose this one.
So the first decision, and yeah, there is going to be a lot of pausing here, get used to it. The first decision in any Nuzlocke run that we can potentially talk about is the starter selection, and it's one of the most impactful ones. Ryan unknowingly makes the best decision possible here. The other 2 starters, especially Spirigato, are actually pretty viable in Scarlet and Violet as well, but for Nuzlocking specifically, Scarlet and Violet are pretty special because they feature the most broken starter Pokemon ever created in any Pokemon game, and you're looking at that Pokemon right now. It's Fuecoco and its evolutions. Generally, experienced Nuzlockers evaluate a Pokemon's value based on how many important fights it can deal with and how well it can deal with those fights. Skeledirge solo sweeps without any effort 5 gym leaders, an Elite Four member, and the champion in this game. No other starter in any Pokemon game can do that. So good job, Ryan. You've basically already won. Let's see you bring it home from here, I guess.
You know, that actually doesn't sound like that big of a question until you realize that I'm playing Nuzlocke mode. What is Nuzlocke mode? For one, you must nickname every Pokemon you catch. Bubba. I love that name. If a Pokemon faints, it's dead. You can only catch the first Pokemon you encounter in each area. I just caught a Lechonk, named him Gary. If all the Pokemon in your party die, it's game over. So you either beat the game, or you become a massive loser.
Okay, so Ryan is doing a very basic Nuzlocke rule set here. Important thing to understand about Nuzlocking is that there's generally no standardized rule set. Overall, Nuzlocking kind of just means that your Pokemon permanently die when they faint, and there's some restriction on how many Pokemon you can catch and when you can catch those. Generally, that means only catching the first Pokemon in every area. People who look for like harder challenges like me usually add like 50 million more rules to increase the fun of the challenge and the run as you get better at the game. But in its essence, Nuzlocking is just a way to make your playthrough more fun for you. Some people prefer this, some people prefer this. I am a little confused by Ryan's encounter rules here because he does say he can only catch the first Pokemon on every route, but just a little bit later in the video he mentions having 5 Lechonks after only having been in like 2 areas, and also later on mentions this.
On day 46, I went back to where I caught Doug and got another one,
implying he caught 2 Pokemon in the same area. But I mean, who cares? It's his run, it's his rules. All these rules are made up to have fun, so nobody cares.
This guy's name is Arvin, and
doesn't matter who my dad is.
Self-made entrepreneurs when you ask them where they got their startup money.
Now that I'm in a new area, I saw this Psyduck and decided to capture him. Basically, you knock down their HP a little bit so that they're weak, and then you throw a little Pokeball at them.
That's exactly how you do it.
Welcome to the team, Quack Boom. Because when he goes quack,
you go boom.
Very good.
Cool, yeah. Psyduck is a pretty mid encounter in my opinion. I mean, Golduck is okay in the late game. Honestly, this game doesn't have too many great water Pokemon options, so it's decent. Curious to see how far this goes. Early game, I'm really not a big fan of Psyduck, although it does get decent water moves early. It's okay. Water Pokemon aren't that useful in the early game of this run anyway, except for like the first Titan.
My #1 priority in Nuzlocke mode is not letting any of my Pokemon die.
So this sounds really obvious, like really obvious advice, like, hey, don't let your Pokemon die. But honestly, there's a lot of deeper truth to this for the more technical aspects of Nuzlocking, the more strategic aspects. Part of what, as a new Nuzlocker, you probably also mean by that is that you form a deeper connection and bond with your Pokemon, and therefore don't want them to die. That's a big reason. But also, if you're more into the like technical aspects of Nuzlocking, a big thing I always talk about, and this is a very big concept to remember when you're playing these runs, is the snowball effect. Basically, what that means is as you lose more Pokemon, your other Pokemon are more vulnerable to be lost as well because they have less protection. Your team diversity goes down as you lose more Pokemon. Your options go down, and therefore your options to defend your Pokemon go down. So losing one Pokemon can often result in you losing two, which can often result in you losing the run, which is the snowball effect. So preventing even those very early losses as much as possible is a pretty basic strategy that you need to start to learn as a Nuzlocker.
Nemona rewarded us with this thing called a Terra Orb. It's new to this Pokemon game, and it allows your Pokemon to terrestrialize.
So let's do a quick tutorial on how to use terrestrialization strategically, featuring the sponsor of this video, NordVPN. Terra lets any Pokemon become a different type at any time. For example, you can Terra your water type Squirtle into a fire type or any other type, very similar to how NordVPN allows you to switch what region you're browsing the internet from. Right now, I'm in Germany, but Netflix doesn't have some of my favorite shows, so my internet connection can terrestrialize from a European type into an American type. Unlike Nord, which allows you to switch whenever you want, however many times you want, Terra can only be used once per battle. Terrestrialization is a fantastic defensive tool as well, because changing your type can reduce incoming damage by a ton. In the Squirtle example from earlier, we can reduce the incoming damage from a super effective grass move by 75% by turning into a type that resists it. Very similar to how Nord protects your online presence with threat protection. Nord is not only a VPN anymore, they're also a cybersecurity tool that protects you from malware. The Terra types of Pokemon that you capture in Scarlet and Violet start out as their original typing and can't really feasibly be changed for the purposes of Nuzlocks. So if you catch a water type, its Terra typing is always going to be water. So unlike Nord's capabilities for protecting your presence online and your online activities, terrestrialization is a little bit limited in the scope of a Nuzlocke. The other aspect of terrestrialization, which is much more relevant for Nuzlocking, is the offensive capability. In Pokemon, attacks of the same type as the user's type will get a 50% boost. This is called Stab. So a Squirtle that uses Water Gun will get a 50% boost on that Water Gun. This boost is changed from 50% to 100% if your Terra type matches your base type. So instead of doing 1.5x the damage, you do 2 times the damage. Damage boosting this way is the main use of Terra in Scarlet and Violet Nuzlocks, a game where offensive strategies are already king. And getting that kind of deal on your damage output is pretty similar to the deals you get on NordVPN if you use my link in the description or use code PokemonChallenges at checkout. NordVPN is a fantastic VPN. I've been using it for years now. It's really, really awesome. They have a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not happy. They have 24/7 customer support. So go to the link in the description. Thank you so much for Nord for sponsoring this video. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of it.
This is my dorm room. That's right, I've got wood floors.
Hey, we love those in Europe, okay?
Yeah, ready to call it a day?
They're all over the place.
It is officially day 6.
Okay, Ryan makes way better content than I ever will. He's actually a genius. His channel is crazy. You need to go check it out. He's one of the most innovative creators on the platform. But I do feel like the 100 days structure is a little bit tacked on into this video. It's just, I feel like it would have worked just as great without it.
But I guess I'm doing a study abroad program. Welcome to the team, Zeus.
All right, Mareep is the next encounter. It's actually pretty okay very early game because it does evolve at level 14, which is quite early. That's usually enough for like the first gym if you're playing with level caps. It pretty steadily falls off after that as other Pokemon in your party evolve. Fluffy's stats really aren't that great. As it evolves into Ampharos is pretty damn good. Slow defensive electric types are pretty crazy because of a move called Volt Switch. If you're utilizing strategies like that, it's pretty damn good. But electric types are also in general just fantastic for Nuzlocking. Ampharos is one of the better ones. Slow Pokemon aren't always the best, but it definitely fills a pretty good niche. I also really like that there's a kill counter in the bottom of the screen here for each of the encounters. I assume we will also see how many kills each Pokemon gets later. That's actually something I could have for my runs. I'd like that.
And after a single raid, I knew it wasn't Gary. Rest in peace, Gary.
Ooh, that is the first death. Rip Gary. I don't know how many Lechonks he has left now, because again, I don't know how he did the encounters, but those raids are dangerous early game. You gotta look out.
Randy also died, but then Bubba evolved, which was actually very exciting.
Huge, especially before the first gym.
I got another Pokemon named it Stuart because he's little.
This is actually an amazing encounter. Skullvillain is really, really underrated, I think. It's super, super good offensively. You can use it with Sunny Day and Solar Beam strats. It gets Chlorophyll. As a grass fire type, it can benefit from the sun and getting speed, getting instant Solar Beams, and boosting its fire type moves. This thing is a crazy good sweeper, but it's actually also really good defensively. In general, grass types actually do really well in the Paldea region. They're super, super good. It gets Leech Seed and all that kind of good jazz, so this is a fantastic Pokemon to get.
Before trying to get our first badge, I trained all my Pokemon up into the double digits. I don't want any more deaths on my hands.
He's being a lot more diligent about grinding levels than most first-time players I react to. Usually they only have like their starter at a super high level and the others they just ignore. Although I guess this game also has XP share. Regardless, I already know how this first fight is going to go. Crocolore is going to one-shot everything on this gym leader's team because it's Crocolore and it's broken.
Yeah, I have a Bubba.
Yeah, like I said, Crocodile is pretty broken at this
One
point.
gym leader down. Zeus died.
No.
Stuart died.
Yeah.
Why am I facing the hardest Pokemon in the game right now?
This point is actually really interesting for a blind playthrough, and a Nuzlocke especially, because Ryan has ran into some problems with the open world structure of Scarlet and Violet here, right? It is an open world game where you can technically go anywhere you want at the beginning, but there is still a linearity to it because the gym leaders and trainers have different levels, right? I'm really curious to see how he's going to approach this, not knowing anything about the game, because most people in Nuzlocke can just solve this problem by looking up the gym leaders and their levels beforehand so they know which order to do them in. I think if he does this completely blind and he runs into the wrong area, he can just wipe really quickly.
After losing Zeus and Stuart, I ran into a new Pokemon in this desert and caught him.
I know Stuart Little died, but let me introduce you to Prince Harming.
On day 12, Big Chunk evolved. And then I got a Pokemon called Bagon, nicknamed him Bacon Strip. Get it?
I don't get
In
it.
a new area, I caught a Vigoroth and nicknamed him Freddy.
Guys, I introduce you to Freddy, as in Freddy Krueger.
Cacnea is, in my opinion, kind of awful. It's one of the worst grass types, as long as it's not fully evolved. Its evolved form is a little bit better. It's still a bit weak, in my opinion, but dark types are pretty good in this game. It seems like he's about to face the water gym leader, so obviously having a grass type for that is good. Oinkologne is actually really fantastic at this point. It evolves super early, and has pretty great stats for this point in the game. I think this is actually one of his most powerful Pokemon right now, if not his most powerful. Bagon, obviously, Salaman's late game is insane. The Bagon line itself is kind of mid, although if he can evolve this into a Shelgon, it's at least decent. Dragon types are at least very good defensively early game. They just don't have a lot of offensive tools unless they get Dragon Rage. And then Vigoroth is actually just fantastic. It's great to keep unevolved. You can even give it an Eviolite or something, but it's just like got pretty decent stats. It's a normal type. It learns good moves. It's super insane if you evolve it into Slaking, if you can use that Pokemon correctly.
The next city to fight the leader of...
Gym number 2.
So yeah, this is going to be really, really dangerous. This is not gym number 2. This is gym number 4. Let's hope he does some training before this and he can get in line with the levels, because this is going to be really rough for him. I'm really worried about his run at this point.
At first, Bro can't even keep track of his wallet, but things quickly turned sour. At this point, I'm attached to all of my Pokemon, and unfortunately, yeah, Big Chonk passed away.
Yeah.
This battle is randomly extremely hard. Kofu terrestrialized a Crabominable, which, what is that?
Does he
And it
just
killed
wipe here?
Freddy. Rest in peace, Freddy. You didn't do much. Fortunately, Quackboom finished him off.
That's
and
how
we
he
got our
kills
second
it?
badge.
I'm so curious to see what happened in this battle and see if we can somehow reconstruct. Okay, so we do actually get to see all the levels here and everything. We can do a little bit of team analysis of what happened. It looks like Cacnea actually stayed full HP, probably because he used potions on it. Great move. Oinkologne is his best Pokemon. It was the most underleveled by far, being only level 23, which is probably what contributed the most to it dying here, to the Wugtrio especially. If this had been higher leveled up, it would have done great. It's actually really interesting seeing this team, because Bagon is only 3 levels from being evolved, which would have helped so much. And then if Oinkologne was in line with levels, even just like level 30 or level 28 or something, it would have done much better here. His levels are actually pretty fine here. He's now obviously over leveled for the lower level gyms that are coming up. One more interesting thing to note is that he has equipped all of his Pokemon with these wings. These wings don't do anything when equipped. They're consumable items. You feed them to your Pokemon and they increase their stats permanently. They're not held items. But I can see how you would get confused.
I'm only sitting for the video.
Dude, people that shame other people for pissing sitting down are the weirdest motherfuckers in the world, don't you think? Why the fuck would that matter to anyone? Why do you care how other people piss? Is this an allegory for that point in puberty where we all got embarrassed about liking Pokemon for a few years? Like, we all went through this experience, right? We liked Pokemon up until like something like 6th, 7th grade or something like that, and then we got too scared of liking Pokemon because we were obsessed with seeming more mature. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Things we get anxious about as teens, man. It's fucking crazy. I'm so glad I'm like an emotionally mature adult now.
I think he's like the 4th or 5th gym
Yeah.
leader. Prince Harming, doing amazing.
So he did some research. Looks like he might try to avoid the next higher ones and like look at more what the order of the gyms actually is. Seems like he looked it up. This is definitely going to be the better experience for him. Unfortunately, that does mean that he's very overleveled for like the next 2 gyms, so he's probably just going to sweep through those fights.
We have 3 badges now. That's right, we won. Yo guys, F's in chat for Iono.
Oh, Skeledirge.
Okay, so we have a Dugtrio, we have a Hariyama, that's all nice and all, but we also have Skeleturge now, which means that Fuecoco has reached its most broken form. Right now has access to the crazy move that is Torch Song, which is a already really powerful move that boosts your damage quite significantly every time you use it.
Another Team Star boss when tragedy hit.
I think we're about to lose. Oh.
We lost we them boys.
Yeah, this is kind of the thing with Dugtrio. It's like pretty good offensively, but it's so trash defensively. It's a really, really huge glass cannon. You can fall super quickly to like everything. You have to be super careful with it.
We lost Big Doug.
That's a little bit more unfortunate.
We lost Bacon Strip.
That's also really unfortunate.
We're down to our last 3.
Okay, so, I mean, like, we can clearly also see, like, the level differences here, what happened and stuff like that. But, like, generally, I think this is just, like, matchup and experience, right? Bagon, very tragically, was 1 level from evolving here, and not that he knew that. And then, as I said, Dugtrio is just kind of a glass cannon. I guess Hariyama only died here because it was, like, under-leveled, right? Yeah. The reason that most, like, experienced Nuzlockers play with level caps is because if you didn't, the best strategy in pretty much every Pokemon game would be to just sweep through with one Pokemon and have it be super high leveled. Or, obviously, to overlevel your Pokemon in general. I'm saying this because that would be the best strategy for Ryan to do right now, but the reason that he's not doing that is because he doesn't know that that's the best strategy, right? That's kind of how that works. If he knew that that was the best strategy, then he would be playing with level caps.
On day 46, I went back to where I caught Doug and got another one. This time, Giga Doug. Slay King. Never mind.
So yeah, again, Slaking is incredible in the right hands, right? Despite having the Trahans ability, which only allows you to attack every other turn, its stats are actually quite crazy. It's incredibly powerful stat-wise. And the AI can't really abuse the Trahans ability. It's just going to play like normal. It's not going to like mess with Protect or anything like that. So you can really, really use the Slaking to its full capability. Plus, you can even, as the player, just attack with Slaking once and then switch. Then at some point switches back in, attack again. So you're always doing something on every turn. It's really, really good for Nuzlocking, especially if you're like a little bit more of an experienced player.
Level 43. Prince Harming, 39. Quackboom, I don't know why you're not evolving.
I also don't know. Psyduck evolves at 33. I have no idea how this hasn't evolved yet. Oh, I actually know exactly why it hasn't evolved yet. Pokemon don't evolve if you use the auto battling feature. They have to level up in a proper battle or with like rare candies or XP candies or something. So he probably trained this with the auto battling feature and it never actually leveled up properly. Regardless, he's insanely overleveled right now, especially with Skeleturge, which means the rest of this run is kind of free. Again, I'll reiterate, this is why most people play with level caps, but honestly, this is like his first Nuzlocke run, presumably, so like obviously he's not going to do anything crazy, and like he's doing really well. He's playing really well for it, and yeah, these two Pokemon alone could probably in the right hand sweep the rest of the game.
That's when something crazy happened. Quackboom is evolved.
Yeah, there you go, because he leveled up in a proper fight.
Quackboom has come so far. I named this one Thick Thanos and fed it an Ice Stone, allowing it to evolve into its final form.
So Titan is a fantastic encounter, actually, which is crazy because in pretty much every other Pokemon game, ice types are just fundamentally bad because of how bad the typing is defensively, but Game Freak did a really good job designing powerful ice types this generation that account for how bad the ice type normally is. This is a really good encounter. It's crazy, crazy bulky.
Sure. Nuzlocke mode has seemingly gotten much easier. I feel like I'm getting the hang of it.
You are getting the hang of it.
And lastly,
no, he's right.
I think
before growing up, but this team that we're compiling is elite.
Again, I don't want to be nitpicky. This mint that this Cacturne is holding doesn't do anything when held. You have to feed it to it, but whatever.
To the final gym leader, which means I'm able to catch a new Pokemon. This is Gabite, a powerful dragon Pokemon. And oop, it just attacked me.
Yeah, I don't think I have to tell you how powerful Garchomp is as a Pokemon. It's a pseudo-legendary Pokemon. It's absolutely crazy in the late game. Ryan has some really, really good encounters at this point. I'm excited to see him fight the Elite Four and see how well he does. He's definitely all set to win, but I mean, team building is one thing, execution is another. Let's see how he does.
Video games. I'm 24 years old now, which is kind of old, right?
I mean, take it from a 27-year-old who's gotten away with only playing video games so far. You're doing great, Ryan. Did he just say that he was 24? That means he was like 6 when Fire Red Leaf Green came out, which means he was like 5 when Ruby and Sapphire released. But earlier, he mentioned the Game Boy Color, and he kept showing the Game Boy Color games.
Pokemon has evolved so much since I was a kid. The first time I saw a Game Boy Color, I asked my friend if I could play it, and he punched me.
Something doesn't add up there, Ryan.
I don't want to feel like I'm not growing as a person, but I also don't want to look in the mirror and not recognize myself.
So this is actually really cool. We can see him. So the way I'm interpreting this is we see him transition from childhood with the bedroom with the Pokemon merge to teenage, being an adolescent, puberty, when he's kind of like throwing all that out. And now this is symbolizing like adulthood with the suit he's putting on and this coffee machine. It's fascinating how much thought he puts into the presentation of this video and like how much like, I don't want to say layers there are. It seems like this is like a very purposeful and meaningful thing that he's trying to make here. He's a great filmmaker.
I'm trying to start drinking coffee black. I kind of hate it.
Like even that little quip, it's like that's like a jab at like becoming an adult, right? Like he went from decorating the bedroom with the things that he loved, even if he like even if that doesn't make him cool or whatever, to drinking coffee black, which he self admits he doesn't like. The contrast between those two things is just interesting. I think I maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I'm pretty sure this is on purpose.
Psychic Pokemon have always been the most scary to me. However, Bubba has a really good moveset that can
Yeah,
take
there's no
psychic
reason to be
Pokemon
scared of
out.
this gym
So
if you
I'm
have
not really
Skeledirge.
scared right now. Go get him, Bubba. Good. Next, I decided to take down another Team Star member, Ortega, which was the worst decision of my life. Quackboom got completely rocked by this Chevy Tahoe. Like, rocked.
Okay, so he didn't actually show much of this fight, but we can actually construct it with my Nuzlocke detective skills here. Indulge me for a second, I do have a point to make with this. So we see 2 damage rolls hitting Quackboom here, right? On the first one, he takes 29 damage. When Quackboom dies, we see him take 61. The 29 damage roll must have been Spin Out because Golduck resists steel, while the move that did roughly double of that must have been Magical Torque, which is neutral on Golduck. Here's how I think the fight played out. Ryan switches in Golduck on a Spin Out, taking 29 damage, putting Quackboom at 128 HP. The AI will now only use its most damaging move, because that's how the AI works, and clicks Magical Torque next, dealing 67 damage to Quackboom. Ryan is now in the following position. He has just taken 67 damage and is sitting at 61 HP, but decides to stay in. Not heal, not switch out, he fights. I don't want to roast Ryan for this decision, he's an inexperienced player, but I want to teach you something from this. The most important skill that you can learn in Nuzlocking, the very first skill you need to focus on, the thing that you need to train yourself to do, is damage counting. Always be aware of how much damage your opponent can do to you, how much he has done to you, and how much you can take. Once you get more experience, you can start accounting for critical hits as well to play around them. Always remember, when they go damage, you go count. That doesn't really work here. Okay, whatever.
Welcome to the team, Dale the Whale. Dale immediately died while fighting the last Titan.
This thing is actually really powerful. Oh no.
On day 84, I saw an electric Pokemon.
Come on. Come on. There it is. Yes.
I'm honestly not too big of a fan of Luxray myself at this stage. It's a little slow and doesn't quite do enough damage in my opinion, but it does get Intimidate, which is like one of the best abilities in the game. So, I mean, it's also useful for Larry and the Elite Four. It's pretty okay.
I roamed into a new area and saw one of my favorite Pokemon ever, Scyther. I really want to catch it for the Elite Four.
Please don't die. Please don't die. Please don't die.
So yeah, what I want you to take away from this moment is, especially at these higher levels, at this later stage of the game, if you have bulky Pokemon, you can just sit there and tank the wild Pokemon that's going for like random moves and just throw Ultra Balls. That's usually works out just fine. You don't have to take these risks. Quick Balls, especially on the first turn of the battle, are also really, really OP. Ultra Balls have a pretty good catch chance, even at like high HP, unless it's like a legendary or like some crazy Pokemon.
On day 85, I used all of my loot from raids on Bubba. 87,000. Bubba is now level 77, which is
pretty high.
giving me an actual chance at beating the Elite Four in.
Yeah, this is gonna sweep. He's got it in the bag, boys. I'm telling you, he's got it in the bag.
Heracross. Buzz almost died in the process, but I caught him and appropriately named it Pooter.
So Heracross is pretty fantastic, yeah. I don't see it adding a lot of value to his team at this point because he has so many good options for the Elite Four, but it's a pretty damn good choice.
This is just so much XP. Like, we're just gonna level up our Pokemon so much with this. I spent all of my loot on our Pokemon, and they're now all over level 60.
So again, we're a little bit off on the held items here, but it's fine. This team is actually incredible. He covers every type that the Elite Four has super effectively twice. So ground he covers with Cacturne and with Titan. The next type is Steel, which he covers with Heracross and with Skeledirge and with Garchomp. Next type after that is Flying, which he covers with Luxray and with Cetitan. And then the fourth member is Dragon, which he covers with Garchomp and with Cetitan. He's super set here, plus he has an overleveled Skeledirge. This is a crazy good Elite Four team. I don't think I could have built a much better one with what he has in the box. Look at the bugged out trainer here in the background. This game is so fun.
I'm telling you guys, Pooter is going to come in handy. Bug Pokemon always seem to be valuable at the very end of Pokemon games.
Okay, that's just bad advice. I'm sorry, it's just not true.
I've been training for this since that day in the desert, Prince Harmon.
Yeah, Rika should be easy here.
King.
He's got it.
The first Elite Four member is Ground type.
Absolutely no problem.
My team. Let's get it.
It's so cool you made it
This should be
far,
free with
but this is
Skeledirge.
where you say
Bye-bye, mister.
No, Poppy. I've said bye-bye to too many Pokemon.
I popped Poppy like a zit, and I'm ready for number 3. Oh, it's just Larry again.
This fight is actually pretty scary, because like he does have the coverage for it, but the Flamigo still does so much damage.
Bubba, 5 rare candies.
And honestly, so does the Staraptor.
Level 85.
That's crazy. This is so overleveled. Oh my god, this is going to be so
Larry, I don't know
powerful.
what you've got in that
Oh,
briefcase,
what can't this do?
But Bubba can handle it. Let's go.
It can.
I said Thanos went crazy, actually, but Larry's been training, and I think he took the last time I beat him personally.
Yeah, so I mean, like, obviously this is just like a knowledge gap, right? He doesn't know Flamigo is part fighting type. It's kind of hard to tell, and it used like the most powerful fighting type move there is in close combat. Worth noting, close combat does lower your defense and your special defense, so the best thing Ryan can do here is go for his fastest Pokemon and try to take this out, because Flamigo at this point, after the defense lowering, should die to most moves. I would probably just go Skeledirge here, but that would be my advice for the rest of the run, pretty much.
Larry didn't stop there, taking out Buzz with ease.
Ooh. Even at, I'm guessing this probably didn't have Intimidate. It's probably Rivalry, because otherwise I'm pretty sure that close combat wouldn't have killed. That's really unfortunate. Losing 2 Pokemon here. He still has a really overleveled Skeledirge, so I still believe they can absolutely win. But this obviously hurts. Also losing the Ice type before the Dragon type Elite Four member is pretty bad.
All of a sudden, things got really tense for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of embarrassing. Like, in real life, I got super serious about this.
Hey, that's the point of, or that's part of the point of Nuzlocking, right? Is raising the stakes, making the Pokemon games actually interesting for you as an adult. I think this actually plays really well into like him dressing up as an adult here, taking everything very seriously. But then this kind of shows the power of Nuzlocke mode, in my opinion, that even he in this mode gets extremely scared of this children's game. This is why we do what we do.
I can't lose any more Pokemon if I want a chance at this.
Honestly, you can, because I'm pretty sure Skeletor's still solo sweeps here.
Everyone, until the
Yeah, that's
last 2.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no.
Baba is so strong.
Look at how little damage that Hydro Pump did. That's the level difference right there at work. And Skeletor is also quite bulky. Like, he can just heal up here and be fine. Hydro Pump's going to miss eventually.
He has never been in a life or death situation even once. I rocked this dude. Then he used a Terra Orb on his last Pokemon, pChal, one of the strongest Pokemon in the game.
It's really powerful. Oh, that's so huge to survive that with 8 HP. Oh, that's really crazy. That's actually a really, really precarious position. Yeah. I'm assuming he was slower there. I don't know, maybe he was 2 Torch Songs. Oh yeah, that was the second one he used. Okay. If he'd used a few more Torch Songs a little bit earlier, he could have raised a special attack enough to probably one-shot this, but that was really close. Whew, Jesus. Okay, that's good thing you survived. Yeah, that pChal probably would have swept him, I think. Maybe not. I think Heracross could have taken it out. He probably still would have been fine.
Yes, I beat the Elite Four, but you may have noticed someone throughout the past 100 days super concerned with my journey, and to become a true champion, I have to defeat her, and she's right through
Yeah,
those
this fight
doors.
is actually really easy.
Clearly
Skeletor
outnumbered
just
for
sweeps
the
this.
final fight. I mean, the fight is actually going to be the most insane fight the game has to offer.
We made it.
I'll let him have this moment here.
Looking at my childhood, I don't see much, but I distinctly remember how I felt.
This is Gita's last Pokemon. It all comes down to this.
I remember things feeling so simple. You learn a lot as a kid, and sometimes I think I knew more then than I do now. For sure.
Yes! Yes!
The video is pretty clearly like about the relationship to your childhood, how Pokemon represents that childhood. how that game changing relates to you changing as a person, right? And how you as a grown-up perceive the games now. I think Nuzlocks and how I feel about them actually fit in here pretty neatly. To me, the beauty of Nuzlocks and doing these hard challenges in Pokemon games is finding ways to take those tense moments of playing those games in your childhood and recreate them even as an adult. Looking back on the things that I've done on this channel, like my Emerald Kaizo run, the emotions I felt during those runs are probably stronger than a lot of those that I associate with playing video games as a kid because of these like monumental challenges. And I think that is what makes that niche of gaming so special to me, is taking something that's a huge part of your childhood and trying to extract that experience out of it with these self-imposed challenges. And I think that's why it's so popular. Just something to think about. I don't have much else to say. Obviously, he won. Congrats on winning your first Nuzlocke, Ryan. You played really well, honestly. There's not much to critique. Like I said, damage counting is a big skill to learn. I suck at YouTube outros a lot more than he does, because that was a pretty damn good outro. Shout out to Ryan, and I'll see you guys in the next one.